Test one. Family members, obviously, we want you to be outside of your cars in lawn chairs, and we hope you're able to do that. But the program is also going to be on 99.7. So if you tune your car radio to 99.7, you'll be able to hear the ceremony through your car radio. But the outside, there's no problem with the microphones, but 99.7 for the in-car radio. Folks, if you want to text your family and friends, the live stream is now running. The live stream is now running, so they can certainly check in. And if they check in the live stream now, they'll see the slideshow going, and then it should pick right up with the ceremony. So if you text your family and friends who could not be here today, they can watch the live stream. And that can be accessed through Mr. Hill's email or through our website. Folks, we're going to get started here in about 10 minutes. When Pomp and Circumstance begins, we would like to have all of our graduates seated in their chair. Again, when Pomp and Circumstance begins, and that should be at about 10 after. So if you can please start to find your seats, graduates, we will have our ceremony underway. everyone, places. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 69th commencement of the Lewiston-Porter Central School District and Lewiston-Porter High School. At this time, I'd like to have senior vocalists Lauren Egger, Nathan Fournier, and Olivia Ponticelli come to the stage. And I would ask everybody please rise as we listen to the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Outstanding. Outstanding. Please be seated. Again, I remind our audience that the event is being live streamed, and as well as if you have it tuned to your car radio at 99.7, you can listen to it through your car radio as well. Good evening. My name is Paul Casari. I'm the superintendent of Lewiston-Porter Central School District. I'm this very, very proud superintendent of this amazing educational organization. And more importantly, I am the proud superintendent of this wonderful group of young people, many of whom I have had opportunities to work with one-on-one, many of whom I've had opportunities to travel around the world with and develop relationships with. Our world, as you all know, was turned upside down on March 15th. Who would have ever imagined when we began school for the 1920 school year in September that we would have endured 3 months of virtual education, that we would have endured 3 months of essential worker daycare, that we would have endured 3 months of delivering meals to families and having families coming to our school to pick up meals for their lunches. It's unfathomable. And for many of us, it's been difficult. But amazingly, resiliently, we are here together, which had always been my hope and dream. Truly, I would have loved to have all 168 students together with all of our families in that auditorium. But we all know that we face a crisis in our country, and we've had to adapt. We've had to grow. We've had to learn. We've had to make choices. But out of those choices, we become stronger. The class of 2020, you are a special group. You are a special group because of the tremendous obstacle that has been put in your way. And through that obstacle and overcoming that obstacle, what you have just learned in these 3 months will bode so well and so strong for you as you move forward in your lives. In this first part of your next stage, wherever that takes you, college, university, work, the military, you will have learned and grown from this experience. And we need you so desperately. You are the generation that will lead us out of this crisis. Not just this pandemic, but the crisis that our world faces today, the crisis that our country faces today. And I am so confident that you will rise to the occasion and that you will provide the leadership that this country and this world so desperately needs. Our country has been through many crises. And certainly we hearken back, and I will as a history teacher, to the foundations of our country when a group of patriots decided to go on their own against the world's superpower. And I ask you to listen to these words of Thomas Paine, written in an essay called Crisis, December 23rd, 1776. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives us everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. These are the times that try our souls. But we will rise to the occasion, and we will see through the darkness into the light. of what that new country, that new opportunities will unfold. I wish all of you my sincere congratulations. I wish you much luck and success as you move into the next phase of your life. May God bless you all. Now, at this time, I'd like to introduce the salutatorian. Oh, before I do that, let me just introduce those folks who are on the stage. First of all, let me introduce our high school principal, Mr. Brad Rolls. Let me introduce our Board of Education President, Mrs. Jody Reardon. Our high school assistant principal, Mr. John Everett. Board of Education Vice President, retired Colonel Lance Dickinson. And class of 2020, your class president, Mr. Joe Beatty. And now I'd like to introduce our class salutatorian, Mr. Eric Smith. Eric.
Good afternoon. Welcome our class advisors, Mrs. Skimmon, Ms. Burdick, our valedictorian, Gabriel Steiner, our president, Joe Beatty, our vice presidents, Ella Massaro and myself, our secretary, Jordan Casey, treasurer, Al Schultz, directors of fundraising, Grace Barner and Jack Dunn, and our directors of social relations, Jonathan Went and Claire Skronsky, and again, Mr. Casseri, Mrs. Reardon, Mr. Rolls, Mr. Everett, other distinguished guests, friends, and family. I also found it fairly essential to give a shout out to a few individuals of high distinction, including Justin Schultz, Alexander David Mills, Jack Dabney Dunn, the amazing national anthem singers, the Niagara Catholic Alumni Association, Grace Barner's dog Minnie, and Gino Nikelli's Quizlets. With that, I first want to thank some people for all that they've done for me over the past several years, and what better way to do it than after months of isolation due to a global pandemic. Thankfully, this doesn't have to be virtual. I've been advised to give a word of wisdom, so as Mr. Townsend said, this will be a great story to tell your grandkids. Given all of that, I'm truly honored to be given an opportunity to speak on behalf of my class. I want to start by giving my regards to some of the best teachers and staff around and my appreciation of their talent, not only to teach students, but give guidance and inspiration. I cannot stress enough their ability to make such an immense impact on the students and community that is Lewiston-Porter. I sincerely thank my fantastic class advisors and fellow class officers for working with administration to help allow this and other senior dedicated events to occur. I think we are all grateful to be here today considering all that has happened. Finally, I found it most essential to thank my amazing sister and parents. I'm so blessed to have such caring, dedicated, hardworking, and inspiring people in my life, and I'm so glad to be a part of this family. I reiterate my gratitude to you all. Being able to join the Lew-Port school community in 7th grade was one of the best things that has happened to me. Granted, I was able to see and do some pretty crazy things. I was able to travel to Asia twice for the International Student Science Fair, or ISSF as Mrs. Hinchliffe and I like to call it, solely to present about what would happen when toxic chemicals were mixed with self-grown mushrooms and plants. Yes, it was as weird as it sounds. I was able to be a part of the class that made it to the finals for Powder Puff 3 years in a row, which I would call a rare achievement if it weren't for the fact that we were shadowing the class of 2018 that actually won 3 times in a row. Not to throw any shade, but at least we surpassed them in the cheerleading portion, as nothing can top Fergalicious or Drake and Josh. It was always fun to sit in the band room holding my 50-pound tuba, waiting to be told to hold the tuning note until I got lightheaded, or for Joe Beatty to be told to put his phone away for the nth time in our only 40-minute rehearsal. I was able to be part of the swim team that grew over 6 years, going from having less than 10 members, half of whom could barely swim, to winning 10 out of the 12 meets in my senior season. We were somehow able to do all of this while having our pool on the second floor, but I guess that just made us one level higher than everyone else. Maybe our success resulted from us getting superhuman strength due to that minor chemical spill in our pool 2 years ago. Believe me, I've watched X-Men. In my time at the school, I was able to witness some of my friends go on to sectionals, states, and winning, and even going on to nationals, only further supporting my X-Men theory. All in all, what better way to spend your high school experience than at a place where you can do all of that and more, wearing a color that technically doesn't go well with anything, and only running on Orange Cat Coffee, Favorites Pizza, Hibbert's Ice Cream, and a wide variety of other restaurants known as heard of outside of a 20-mile radius. In all seriousness, I love Lew-Port. I'm more than glad to have had an opportunity to be part of this amazing class. While we have been without a doubt successful in our achievements in education, we are known for so much more. As much as I can say that the Lew-Port curriculum has taught me just about everything I need to know for pursuing a higher education, I can also proudly reflect on the people I've had the honor to be learning with for the past few years and what they've taught me. We are not pushovers, and we always stand up for what is right without hesitation. Cliques aren't really a thing in our class, which is partly due to our refusal to be placed into categories or stereotypes. We are creative and strong-willed, empathetic and enthusiastic, passionate and motivated, and overall great people to be around. As much as we refuse to admit it, we really, really care about each other. We like to strive for personal success, but we more so want to succeed together. It is rare to find so many leaders among such a small group of people. As much as I can say that we have been impacted over the last few months, one thing is of utmost clarity. We are not defined by disease. We have worked way too hard to get to where we are today, and as much as we don't deserve all that has happened to us, we must not forget to celebrate both our individual journeys and our combined success. My senior quote is from one of the best rock songs of all time, Don't Stop Believing. I know many of you may have been expecting something from Bohemian Rhapsody, but unfortunately, I cannot do the best rock song of all time justice without a piano in front of me. The quote is, "Oh, the movie never ends, it goes on and on and on and on." Given that, I hope to spread the idea that our time at Lew-Port was more than great, but this is only the beginning of our amazing lives. To the class of 2020, if I leave one thing with you all, besides taking the time to thank whoever has pushed you the most to get to where you are today, it is this. While all of our movies go on and on into the future, I only ask that you don't leave the Lew-Port community behind, but you take it with you and hold on to it forever. I'm excited to see what you can accomplish, and I hope you know that if you were ever to return, you'll be welcomed with open arms. With that, I sincerely congratulate you for your success, thank you for attending, and declare, don't ever stop believing. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Ms. Jody Reardon, the president of the Lew-Port Board of Education.
May you live in interesting times. Whether this is a proverb or a curse has long been argued, but however you weigh it, we are living in interesting times. Times of pestilence and plague, civil unrest, racial and gender inequality, economic hardship, times of danger and uncertainty. But times as these also prove to be the most creative of any time in the history of mankind. And everyone here will ultimately judge himself on the effort he has contributed to building a new world society and the extent to which his ideals and goals have shaped that effort. I quote Robert F. Kennedy in 1966, and I challenge you, class of 2020, to rise to the occasion. You enter the annals of history, a graduating class of women and men coming of age at a critical time. Generations before you have lived through pandemic, through dramatic instances of human suffering. They rose to greatness. Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. So far, you have not been called to action. You've instead been grounded, just as you were ready to fly. But the class of 2020 will not be defined by what was missed. What will define you is what was gained, what was learned, what you do next, what you take away from this and build. Adversity does not build character, it reveals it. It has shown in you resilience, patience, kindness, grace. It has shown the strength of your friendships, the depth of your empathy, the bond of your class. The pandemic did not define the character of this class, it revealed it. Remember, hindsight is 2020. May you look back on these interesting times and realize the opportunity. Remember fondly the gift of time with your family, the camaraderie of your friends, and how the entire Lewiston-Porter community came together to recognize and celebrate your accomplishments. How unexpected adversity brought unexpected joys. Class of 2020, take everything you learned in your years at Lewiston-Porter, everything you learned in these interesting times, and go change the world. On behalf of the Lewiston-Porter Board of Education, congratulations to each of you. May you know happiness and success. May you live in interesting times. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the valedictorian of the class of 2020, Mr. Gabriel Steiner.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all positive ages, as the valedictorian of the Lewiston-Porter High School class of 2020, I would like to formally say to all of you, hi. Sorry, I just figured that since I couldn't come up with a good start to the speech, the best thing I could do would be to make a deliberately awful one. Anyway, I have a story for you. The day is June 1st. I've just finished my AP Physics exam. I had to retake it because my internet died the first time. And I get a text message. It's a message from the school band director, Miss Burdick, to both me and Eric Smith, the salutatorian. It goes something like this. Hi guys, wanted to check in on how your valedictorian/salutatorian speeches are going. The Niagara Gazette is doing a special feature, etc., etc. Anyway, Eric responds with, it shouldn't be a problem. I'll try to get it to you by June 6th. And I respond with, we needed speeches? You see, this was back when everything was still up in the air with regards to how graduation was going to work. Last time I'd heard, the graduation ceremony was either called off entirely or at least postponed for quite a while. So between that, the APs that I'd just gotten done with, the projects I just started getting assigned, and the new job that I was starting the very next day, making a valedictorian speech was between global thermonuclear war and summertime blizzard on my list of concerns. Although, given how this year's been going, neither one of those things is completely off the table. So, on top of everything else that I was dealing with, I now had to write an entire valedictorian speech, which, by extension, also meant that I had to figure out how to write a valedictorian speech, since I had absolutely no idea what that entailed. Needless to say, my hopes were not high. But, as you can tell by the fact that I am here giving my valedictorian speech, I managed to do so. I eventually figured things out on my own, read a bunch of guides, and watched recordings of other people's speeches, mustered up enough motivation to stop procrastinating, and typed out these very words that I'm speaking to you right now. Yes, these ones, and these ones too. And why did I put this in the script? Anyway, one of the main things that I definitely didn't learn from reading online tutorials was that a valedictorian speech should have a theme. And with everything that's happened thus far, I can think of no theme more fitting than adaptability. I really should have made a better segue than this, but the connection I was going for there was that I had to adapt to a new and unexpected challenge, even while handling a bunch of other things, and, well, you get the idea. I'm not going to torture this anymore. Referencing current events is another thing you're apparently supposed to do in a valedictorian speech, and if that's the case, then I sure picked the right year to graduate. We've been through a lot together. Well, not together per se, but you get the idea. And yet, in spite of it all, we're still here. By and large, we're still the same people we were before this all went down. A bit older, a bit wiser, a bit less confident about the future and ourselves in general. Sure, but mostly the same. Which makes sense, Roy, since that's how I managed to get this far in the first place. I mean, think about it. Think back to AP Bio for those of you who took it. Most speeches are pretty localized, right? Sure, some cover a pretty broad range, but they're still pretty much confined to one general area based on climate, geography, the other species living there, stuff like that. One exception to this? Us. Human beings inhabit practically every corner of the globe, which is quite impressive since the globe has no corners. All jokes aside, it really is impressive from a biological perspective. Species live everywhere from the hot, dry, barren expanses of the Sahara Desert to the cold, dry, barren expanses of the Antarctic Desert. Seriously, the entirety of Antarctica is classified as a desert. You can't make this stuff up. The ventures everywhere from the peaks of the highest mountains to, well, we're still working on the deepest depth of the ocean, but we're getting there. And all the way beyond its own planet entirely. And the reason behind it all is, as I mentioned, adaptability. There's a quote that sums this up rather well. You've probably heard it before. It is not the most intellectual of the species that survives. It is not the strongest that survives, but the species that survives is the one that is able best to adapt and adjust to the changing environment in which it finds itself. If you've heard that quote before, it was probably attributed to Charles Darwin. That is wrong. It was attributed to Leon Megginson, a business professor. But the point still stands. One of the major things that makes humans so capable is their ability to adapt to change. And it is this adaptability that has allowed us to conquer the world and beyond. So I guess that's the theme behind this speech. Be adaptable. Don't get me wrong here. Obviously, there are situations where you should hold your ground and changes that you should refuse to go along with, but even that is, in a sense, adapting. It's just that instead of adapting yourself to the situation, you're adapting the situation to yourself. Still, in many cases, the situation is beyond your control. This year has taught us that lesson very thoroughly so far and will probably continue to give us review sheets for the remaining 6 months. So there's nothing you can do except roll with the punches. Either the punches are coming at you from extra-dimensional directions that you can neither perceive nor comprehend. Anyway, I didn't really think of a good way to close this whole thing out, so if you could just clap appreciatively as I awkwardly shuffle off the stage and hand everything off to retired Colonel Dickinson, that would be much appreciated. Oh yeah, retired Colonel Dickinson, everybody.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have the special honor to recognize those graduates who are pursuing entry into the United States Armed Forces. Our nation's success is founded on the sacrifice of generations who have served in our armed forces, defending our ideals. President Reagan said freedom is a fragile thing and is never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once to a people. Those who have known freedom and then lost it have never known it again. The individuals we are going to recognize tonight are part of that next generation who have made the decision to join the armed forces and fight for our freedoms. Soon they will be facing the challenges of this uncertain world, but they will be joining a team where no member is more important than the other, and a team that upholds the core values of integrity, loyalty, duty, respect, honor, service, courage, and commitment. At this time, it is my honor to introduce the graduates who are entering the armed forces. Please hold your applause until I have introduced all the candidates. And graduates, please rise when I call your name and remain standing until everyone is introduced. Joining the United States Army, Joseph Medlin. Joining the Army National Guard, Eve Pesha. They will be joined by Jaden Ball, Joseph DiNatale, and Ethan Winter as this year's graduates that are entering the military. I would personally like to congratulate you on your decision, one that will shape you the rest of your life. You will find as you put on that uniform, you will stand a little taller. And your heart beats a little faster with being a member, pride of being a member in the service of our great nation. We will demand much from you, but I have no doubt of your ability to succeed. Welcome to the finest armed forces on earth, and let me be the first to salute you for accepting the call to serve our country. And now I'd like to turn the program over to Mr. Rolls, the high school principal.
Colonel Dickinson, I just want to take a moment and thank you for your service to your country and this community. Thank you, sir. Before I continue on with our program, I also want to take a moment and thank an individual that bleeds green and white, that has earned respect from his colleagues in the numerous communities that he has been an educator within, as a teacher, as a building level administrator, as a superintendent, and as an interim principal. I want to say thank you to Dr. Whitney Van Tyne for his many years of dedicated service. And personally, I want to thank him for being a mentor. He is always no further than a phone call away, so thank you for that, sir. It does mean a lot. Now I have the privilege of announcing our students who have earned honors diplomas. Those diplomas are with highest distinction. Those would be high school students who have earned a 100% or greater GPA within 4 years. Diploma with distinction, which is earning a GPA 98 to 99.9, an honors diploma, which is a student had earned a 4-year GPA of 95 to 97.99. When I announce your name, I'd ask you please stand till the final name is announced, and then we'll give you a congratulatory round of applause before we move on with the other diplomas. The first up, Olivia Kiesel with a GPA of 103.20. Jason Lin with a GPA of 103.19. Congratulations to both of you on your hard work and dedication. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now for the students who had earned their diplomas with distinction. Once again, that's a GPA of 4 years for 98% to a 99.99. Tyler Height. Cooper Krozak. Lucas Larson. Alexander Lorenzi. Gino Nikelli. Congratulations to all of you for your hard work and dedication. Thank you. And now for those students who had earned an honors diploma, that is earning an average of 95% to 97.99 GPA during their 4 years at Lewiston-Porter High School. The first is Stephanie Frazier. Alexis Giordano. Caitlin Hurst. Emily Lazonis. Sophie Lindemere. Congratulations to all of you once again for your hard work and for your dedication. You may be seated. To the class of 2020, what a year. As I've communicated more than a few times, there's nothing that I could say that will or can fill the void left by so many canceled senior year moments. I believe I may know just a little of how you're feeling. I was your building principal for only 5 weeks before this health-related break began, missing out on getting to know my students. Even though we haven't been together as one Lew-Port family since Friday, March 13th, we've continued to aim higher, to persevere, and we succeeded. This health-related break has taught all of us an important lesson. Too many times we find ourselves traveling down a path that wasn't or isn't by our own choosing. Who would have thought in the 21st century we'd be living through a global pandemic, schools in much of our community closed, our known sense of normalcy altered? Each generation has at least one defining moment. It may be a Great Depression, a global conflict, Pearl Harbor, the fall of the Berlin Wall, 9/11, or even a global pandemic, just to name a few. Throughout these crucial moments in time, many individuals didn't or couldn't choose the path these moments took them on. But in all of these historic moments, individuals stood tall. They persevered, accomplished goals, succeeded, and they met the challenge head on. I'm proud to say that each of you are sitting here today because of your commitment, your hard work, and by confronting this moment head on. You let nothing stand in your way, even a global pandemic, to achieve your goal of being a high school graduate. With all that being said, I'm extremely proud to call myself a Lancer. To witness the outpouring of support from the Lew-Port community for this senior class, to view firsthand the prominent role that this school district holds within this community. Just one shining example would be your senior day parade. That parade was absolutely one of the coolest experiences of my professional career. To see hundreds, if not thousands, of community members, young and old, proudly wearing green and cheering on your accomplishments was truly amazing to see. I've always believed that schools cradle and nurture a community's greatest assets. That's you, its students, its future. It is this belief that makes my job so rewarding as I look out from this podium today. The class of 2020 is truly historic, but it's not because of the missed opportunities that you may have had because of this pandemic, but rather your shining example of perseverance and success. The Lew-Port family is extremely proud of each of you, but please remember, you're always welcome home. Congratulations. Mr. Superintendent, as principal of the Lewiston-Porter High School, I have reviewed the educational records of each of these young men and women and have found they have met all the requirements for graduation as established by the Lewiston-Porter Board of Education and the New York State Department of Education. I now recommend them to you for your confirmation. Thank you.
Mr. Rolls, as superintendent of the Lewiston-Porter Central Schools, I accept your recommendation. And in accordance with the Lewiston-Porter Board of Education policy and regulations established by the New York State Department of Education, I now confer upon these candidates a Lewiston-Porter High School diploma. Congratulations. We are now going to begin the distribution of the diplomas. I want to just remind you of a couple housekeeping items. Dr. Van Tyne and the chaperones will be directing you row by row to come up. We have been asked by the New York State Parks to make sure that our graduates are wearing the mask when they come up. When you get to the stairs, you can take your mask off, okay? We're going to have your diploma will be sitting on a table right here. Come up, grab the diploma that will have been placed by your school counselor. Show the diploma to the live audience. And then we have a professional photographer here that will get a picture with you, the board president, and your high school principal in front of the flags. And we also have an envelope with some other items in there for you as well. So that's how the distribution of diplomas will go. And please follow the direction of the chaperones as we begin that process. Thank you.
And now I'm going to call the co-advisors to the stage for the diploma ceremony. Thank you.
Graduates, please remember to bring your name cards up with you and hand them to us. Jacob Thomas Frayne. Stephanie Rose Frazier. Gianna L. Freeline. Nicholas A. Gambino. Alexis M. Giordano. Austin M. Gordon. Connor Brian Grace. Christopher R. Grenga. Tyler L. Haight. Andrew E. Hanna. Jack Todd Havens.
Trent Hess.
Sydney Jane Hibbard. Riley M. Houston. Caitlin Kennedy Hurst. Derek Juan. Jeffrey H. Hyde. Kirk Hyman. Jason Jakes. Miles John Cates. Olivia Ann Kissel. Cooper Krozak. Georgia Noel LaBarber. Adam Lanaska. Emily Elizabeth Lazonis.
Caitlin Elizabeth Lack. Chin Chan Lee. Elena E. Licht. Jason Lin. Sophie Marie Lindemer. Olivia F. Luchetti. Sierra Masick. Ella Massaro. Aiden C. Mazierski. Philip James McGarvey. Roberto Tonatiu Mele Mejia. Alexander Mills. Jacqueline Grace Milne. Ethan J. Morana. Helen Victoria Mosley. David Edward Newton. Gino Nakelly.
Benjamin No Savage. Elizabeth A. O'Keefe. Kaya T. Orsi. Mason Ortiz. Megan E. Pacana. Eve Elizabeth Pasha. Dominic A. Perfetti. Caden Falzer. Olivia Grace Ponticelli. Congratulations.
It now gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the president of the class of 2020, Joseph Beatty.
Hello, everybody, and thank you all for coming here today. For those who don't know me, my name is Joseph Beatty, and I've had the honor of being the class of 2020 president for the past 4 years. Before I begin, I would like to thank my teachers and the staff that have helped me get through the past 4 years. The faculty here at Lewiston-Porter is the best there is, and we as a class cannot thank you all enough. To my mom and dad, I cannot thank you enough for all that you have done for me and your constant support in everything that I do. Also, I'd like to thank Paul, Lindsay, and Katie for being the best older siblings the baby of the family can ask for. And last, thank you to my grandma and Papa for always being there and for being role models for me. To my fellow students, we finally did it. We turned in our last assignment, we ended our last Zoom call, or if you're anything like me, you got a 65 put in power school because we didn't do either of those things that I just said. Despite all the obstacles thrown our way this year, we did it. And as your class president and on behalf of the class officers, I would like to congratulate everyone here today. The class of 2020 is a very special one, and not just because the last 3 months of our school year was canceled because of a pandemic. The 160 or so students that make up our class have accomplished so much, whether it be academically, athletically, musically, you name it, our class has excelled in it. In the world of athletics, members of our class have won sectional, state, and NFL championships, a powder puff championship. They've made all NFL and all state teams, and many have been named scholar athletes. Travel down the music wing, and our students have been accepted into various all-county, area all-state, and conference all-state ensembles, as well as participated in many festivals at the county and state levels, and also dozens of concerts and musicals. Not to mention programs and clubs like BOCES, DECA, Business Academy, Lancer Council, Yearbook, Art Club, Masterminds, Foreign Language Clubs, and many more, where students are given the chance to do what they love and to excel at it. Each member of the class of 2020 has their own unique combination of activities, experiences, and relationships that shape them into the person that they are today. For me, one of the most influential experiences during my time at Lewiston-Porter was my decision to join the soccer team. My coaches, Mr. Sweeney and Mr. Bollinger, taught me and my teammates commitment, teamwork, hard work, and determination. And these lessons taught us how to succeed both on and off the field. I'll always be grateful for my coaches, teammates, and the memories that we made together. My time with the music department at Lew-Port has also been one of the most rewarding experiences during my years. For the past 7 years, yes, 7 years, I've had the privilege of having Miss Burdick as my band teacher, and she has had the privilege of dealing with me on a daily basis. On a serious note, I couldn't imagine my time at Lew-Port without her. She works tirelessly, not only for the band, but also for our class, and no matter how much me, Anthony Dragoni, and Jack Dunn annoyed her in band, she was always there to give advice, make sandwiches, or do anything that I might have needed throughout the day. And I can say that I couldn't have survived without her. Last August, all that I could think about was the fun experiences I'd be having around this time. class day, prom, and the senior trip are just a few of the things that my classmates and I sadly lost due to Corona. No one could have imagined that everything would happen the way it did, but here we are, and like I said, the class of 2020 is a special one, and we will learn from all of this. Even in times of disappointment and uncertainty, the community has had our back. The support from family, friends, and even those we've never met before the past 3 months has been outstanding. The Adopt a Senior program, the Ransomville Volunteer Fire Company stopping by our houses, and the senior parade set up by our school and police department are just a few examples of how powerful and meaningful positivity can be to people in dark times. This pandemic gave everybody two options. You could either sit and pout about what you lost, or you could focus on making yourself better and stronger than you were before. Not gonna lie, for the first month and a half, the quarantine broke me. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. But my time in this area is ending soon as I'm leaving for college in a couple of months, and I finally decided to use this time to create memories that I won't forget. Some seniors were asked to submit quotes for the commencement program today, and I think mine is a perfect one for the situation that we are in. Super Bowl champion and MVP Patrick Mahomes said, "Every experience, good or bad, you have to learn from." And I believe our class has and will continue to learn from every experience, both the good and the bad. We are resilient, dynamic, caring, and willing to take on the challenges life throws our way. I can't wait to see how far we will go in the next 10 years and beyond. To my fellow classmates, I'd like to congratulate you all one more time for making it here, and I'd like to thank you for being the best class I could ever hope to belong to. Thank you, everyone, for coming here today. I hope everyone has a great and memorable summer. Once a Lancer, always a Lancer. Now I would like to introduce seniors Lauren Egger, Nathan Fournier, Olivia Ponicelli, and their accompanists, Mr. Burritt, performing You'll Never Walk Alone.
When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with
the members of the class of 2020 please stand up? And please move your tassels from the right to the left. Congratulations, guys. Please remain standing for the singing of the alma mater.
To the Lewiston-Porter swells the strain of honor true. Hallowed halls we look to thee for a path to guide us through. In our hearts will ever be freedom, wisdom, honesty, home of our alma mater, home of our alma mater. Lamps of knowledge burn inside and grow brighter through the years. Day by day grows student pride for the school we love so dear. We salute thee, green and white, banners proud and ever bright, home of our alma mater, home of our alma mater. To the Lewiston-Porter, our hearts will e'er be true. Though we may be far away, we will pledge ourselves anew. Near Niagara's flowing might, we'll uphold your honor bright, home of our alma mater, home of our alma mater.
How about a round of applause for our senior vocalist under the direction of Mr. James Barrett? Thank you all very much. Fantastic job. As we close out the 69th commencement ceremony here for Lewiston-Porter, I want to say congratulations to all of you. Hold your head up high that you are now graduates of this fine educational institution. Understand also the next chapter is yet to be written. Congratulations. Thank you very much. There is still time before the next ceremony starts, so if you'd like to take pictures, by all means, please do so. Everyone have a fantastic evening. Thank you very much.
Folks, we have about 20 minutes. We'd like to have, if we could have everybody leave the parking lot by 7:30 so our next group can come in at 7:45. So that gives you about 20 minutes. Take some photos. New York State Parks has asked us if you are in groups of, and you can't remain socially distanced, please wear your masks. Thank you. Thank you.